Future energy needs and rising carbon emissions present humankind with an undeniable problem. Although nuclear energy helps limit our CO2 output while delivering a reliable and consistent energy supply, society needs a technology that is safer, cheaper, and more efficient that relies on an abundant fuel. Well, the technology exists. Liquid fluoride thorium reactors, pronounced lifters, deliver all that and have existed for over 60 years. The time to re-examine this technology is now. In traditional nuclear reactors, enriched uranium fuel rods create heat through fission, which is managed by control rods in the core. Heat from the core evaporates water into steam within a containment structure, which then turns a turbine to generate electricity. Fuel rods must be replaced when less than 5% of the uranium has been used, because the fission process can no longer be managed safely, and the rest is stored as nuclear waste. If the reactor's operators do not properly manage the fission process, then the reactor risks melting down. Likewise, if the coolant pumps fail or pressure is lost, then the reactor also risks melting down or exploding. Lifters have no risk of meltdown, since there are no control rods, they don't use water, and they work at atmospheric pressure. A blanket of thorium and molten fluoride salt sustains the fission of uranium-233 in the core. Lifters are breeder reactors, thus allowing much more efficient energy extraction. Heat from fission in the core is transferred to a secondary batch of molten salt, which then produces superhot gas to turn a gas turbine and generate electricity. The molten salts act as their own coolant, and no high-pressure system, water reservoir, or containment structure is necessary. The reactor design is walk-away safe because it can't melt down, since the fuel is already in a molten state. If external power is lost, then the molten fuel salt will simply melt a fail-safe freeze plug and be stored in a graphite tank, after which it can be easily reused. Lifters have immense design, waste, risk management, and fuel source benefits. Lifters do not use pressurized water and uranium fuel rods like traditional nuclear reactors, so the scale of potential thorium power plants will be smaller, which allows lifters to be built with lower capital costs than contemporary nuclear reactors, maybe even as small as a shipping container. Lifters are more efficient than traditional nuclear reactors and do not require fuel rods to be replaced and stored as waste. A gas turbine system operating at 800 degrees Celsius powered by a lifter reactor could be as much as 50% efficient versus 35% efficiency for traditional nuclear, and the fuel can be recycled for much longer. Thorium is 3 to 4 times more abundant than uranium. Also, the price is extremely cheap since there's no market for it. Additionally, thorium is much more fuel efficient and requires less meticulous separation to obtain product. Lifters are walk-away safe from both environmental conditions or human intervention. It is difficult to make weapons-grade uranium from lifters, and the reactor will shut itself off and the fuel will be stored in a graphite tank to be reused if there is any system failure or tinkering. Depleted thorium waste only needs to be stored for 300 years. Thorium fuel can be reused a second time, which reduces the ultimate amount of time that it is in storage, decreasing the overall amount of waste tremendously. Finally, like all nuclear power, lifters are emissions-free, and unlike wind and solar, they are not intermittent and can provide base load power for the grid. When was this technology invented? At Oak Ridge Nuclear Laboratories in 1947, and advanced in the following 2 decades by the lab's long-serving director, Alvin Weinberg.
I think that someday the world will have commercial power reactors of both the uranium-plutonium and the thorium-uranium fuel cells.
Please forgive my ignorance, but what is thorium?
Why was this promising technology discontinued? In 1973, Alvin Weinberg was fired, and the molten salt reactor at Oak Ridge, which had run for 6 years, was shut down. Why? The Navy Admiral Hyman Rickover found light water reactors worked well to power nuclear submarines. Due to the urgency to develop nuclear energy and the added benefit of uranium reactor waste being weapons-grade material in the fight against the Soviet Union, the US government invested heavily in light water reactors and disbanded Weinberg.
The project was eventually terminated, but I still think that, well, eventually people will come back to this way of trying reactors.
Now, in other news, an obscure metal that could energize our world. It's called thorium, it's eco-friendly, and there's lots of it.
How has the idea resurfaced? As ever, international competition, as the US sees Germany, Japan, and China invest heavily in the technology. Another reason? Reactor meltdowns, such as the 2011 Fukushima disaster. Many scientists are enthusiastic about the potential of lifters to power cities worldwide. But there remain steps before this technology can be employed competitively on a commercial scale. Current barriers include research costs to get materials and aspects of lifter infrastructure properly developed, demonstrated, tested, and certified for use. Once it is ready, a business case is needed to present lifters as a competitive, low-cost alternative on the energy market. Lifters have the potential to be a highly sustainable source of energy in a domestic and commercial setting globally.